The Galactic Council had seen countless worlds rise and fall under its banners of dominion. Civilizations from the farthest corners of the spiral arm had knelt before its authority, offering tribute and loyalty. When the species called humans entered their notice, the Council assumed the same would happen. They viewed Earth as a primitive backwater planet orbiting a yellow star. They expected surrender. They expected compliance. The Council was wrong. At first, the approach was diplomatic. The emissaries of the Council arrived at Earth's orbit in shining vessels, broadcasting messages of unity and order. They spoke of peace, of interstellar law, of mutual benefit under Council oversight. The human representatives listened in silence. They did not interrupt. They did not protest. They simply nodded and promised to respond. When the emissaries returned to the Council chambers to report success, they spoke confidently. The humans will join willingly. They are a species that values logic and progress. They will kneel once they see the scale of our civilization. Yet weeks passed, then months. The Council received no formal response from Earth. Patrol fleets near Sol reported unusual energy readings. Scans showed massive construction in orbit. The humans were building something large, something fast, something armed. The Council dismissed it as paranoia. Then came the first transmission from Earth. It was short, direct, and spoken in a calm tone. We thank the Council for its offer of unity. However, humanity does not kneel. We will engage with the galaxy as equals, not as subjects. The chamber fell silent when that message played. Murmurs spread among the assembled delegates. No one had ever refused before. The Council leader leaned forward, voice cold with authority. Then they must be reminded of their place. A fleet was dispatched. 20 dreadnoughts, hundreds of escorts, and countless support ships. They entered Sol with banners blazing, demanding submission. The human orbital stations powered down their external lights. The silence of space grew heavier. The fleet's commander sent another transmission. By order of the Galactic Council, you are to surrender your planet, your fleets, and your sovereignty. No response came. Instead, long-range sensors began to detect gravity disturbances near the edges of the system. At first, they were dismissed as anomalies. But the readings grew stronger, sharper. Something vast was emerging. Then they saw it. Ships, hundreds of them, burst from the dark side of Jupiter. Sleek, angular, and black as obsidian, they moved in perfect formation. Their hulls bore no markings, but the signal beacons identified them clearly. Earth Fleet Command. Each ship was a symbol of human defiance and ingenuity. They were not ornate or ceremonial. They were weapons forged from necessity and will. The largest among them, the flagship Resolute Dawn, dwarfed even the Council's dreadnoughts. The Council Fleet Commander issued another hail, but before the signal could complete, Earth Fleet's message cut through all channels. Council forces, you are trespassing within Sol jurisdiction. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately, the Council Commander laughed. You dare to order the Council? The reply came almost instantly. We don't dare. We decide. A pulse of light erupted from the Resolute Dawn. In an instant, one of the Council's cruisers vanished from sensors. It didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist. The Council fleet scrambled to retaliate, but their targeting systems flickered and failed. Human ships moved like ghosts through the void, their energy signatures shifting in ways no Council scanner could track. The first minutes of the battle were chaos. The Council's confidence shattered as their ships were cut apart one by one. Every human vessel struck with precision, coordinated by an artificial intelligence that operated at a speed beyond comprehension. In under an hour, the once mighty Council fleet was reduced to drifting wreckage. The survivors were recovered and held in orbit, where they were shown a sight few had imagined possible. Above Earth, the fleet gathered, thousands of ships forming a shielded armada that blanketed the planet in protective formation. From small corvettes to massive dreadnoughts, each bore the insignia of unity, not of subjugation. This was not a species bowing to anyone. This was a species standing as one. The Council tried to respond politically. They called emergency sessions, demanded explanations, even threatened sanctions. Yet every threat rang hollow. The galaxy had seen what happened in Sol. The illusion of Council invincibility had been shattered. Word spread quickly across the stars. Worlds that had long felt the weight of the Council's control began to whisper. If humans could defy them, perhaps others could too. Meanwhile, in the vast halls of Earth Fleet Command, The human leaders gathered. Their faces were calm, their voices steady. They did not celebrate. They did not boast. They knew the war wasn't over. It had just begun. Earth was not an empire. It was not a conqueror, but it would not be enslaved. Humanity had learned through millennia of struggle that peace was valuable only when freely chosen. The Council sent another fleet, a larger one this time. 100 ships strong, commanded by their most experienced strategists. They expected revenge. What they found instead was an ambush. The humans had anticipated the counterstrike. Their ships appeared from warp shadows and debris fields, their weapons calibrated with terrifying precision. Ion storms formed around their engines, bending light itself. Council ships that tried to retreat found their jump drives disrupted. Those that tried to negotiate found themselves surrounded. In the aftermath, the Council could no longer deny the truth. Humans were not a minor race. They were a force of nature. For the first time in galactic history, the Council convened behind closed doors not to command, but to fear. Reports detailed new human technologies, warp drives that folded gravity, kinetic weapons that pierced planetary shields, drones that could reconstruct entire warships mid-battle. Each discovery was more unbelievable than the last. The Council sent envoys again, this time pleading for peace. They were received, but the atmosphere was different. In the great chamber of Earth Fleet Command, the human representative stood before them. His tone remained composed, his eyes steady. "We will coexist, but never as subjects. If the Council truly seeks peace, then it must be built on respect, not hierarchy." The delegates hesitated. They had ruled for centuries by intimidation, yet in that moment they felt small. They saw in humanity something they had long forgotten: conviction. When the envoys returned, the Council's report was simple. Do not provoke them again. They do not kneel. They do not fear. But fear had already begun spreading, not among humans, but among the stars. The old empires realized their fleets, their systems. Their pride meant nothing against a civilization that had united not through conquest, but through determination. Weeks later, long-range sensors across the galaxy detected new human fleets leaving Sol. Exploration vessels, colonization ships, and defensive armadas, all expanding outward. Not to conquer, but to protect their growing sphere of influence. Worlds previously bound by Council decrees began reaching out to Earth, seeking treaties. Not vassalage, partnership. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy began to change, not under the rule of fear, but under the example of humanity's will. In time, the Council's arrogance faded. They still held power, but no longer absolute. They learned caution, restraint, and humility. When they looked toward the blue planet they had once sought to dominate, they did so with respect. And yet, deep within Earth Fleet Command, humanity remembered. They remembered the first insult, the first demand to kneel, the first fleet that entered their skies with arrogance. They swore never again to allow such a moment to return. The Earth Fleet continued to grow. Their technology advanced in quiet leaps: quantum drives, stealth reactors, planetary shields. Their explorers mapped the unknown edges of the spiral arm, carrying with them the flag of a united Earth. But when the galaxy spoke of them, it was not their ships that inspired awe. It was the principle they carried, the belief that no world, no people should be forced to bow. Centuries later, historians would mark that day as the turning point. The moment when the galaxy's balance of power shifted forever. The day the Council learned that humanity's strength did not lie in its weapons, but in its refusal to kneel, and when travelers looked upon the night sky, they would see distant lights moving between the stars, symbols of defiance, unity, and hope. They would whisper a truth known by every race that came after: the humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again.